English as second language or English speakers of other languages fill our schools. It is important as educators that we promote educational equity for these culturally diverse learners. In this podcast, we will share some strategies to help make the learning experience positive and equitable. In Volusia County schools, there are over 100 languages spoken. While the majority of the students speak Spanish, it is important to understand the differences that make up these diverse learners, as well as appropriate strategies.
We're going to share some culturally responsive classroom strategies. You should get to know your student and their culture. Allow time for the student to share about their culture. You should allow English language learners to teach you about their language and celebrate their native language. Zaretta Hammond, a consultant and writer who specializes in the science of teaching, says, "Becoming culturally responsive starts with showing genuine caring that recognizes the unique gifts and talents of every child, particularly when that child doesn't look or sound like you," she says. "Imagine going through school without feeling affirmed for the way you speak, think, or see the world. I can bet that doesn't generate a lot of happy feelings." Bringing a culturally responsive lens to instruction benefits every student. For ELL students, this approach can be the difference between engagement and alienation in the classroom. Be mindful of how your classroom practice responds to the specific talents, interests, and needs of your ELL students. First, we must create an environment that is reflective of your students' backgrounds. By featuring the cultural identities of each learner in the classroom, your students will feel a sense of belongingness. Honor your students' first languages. Students' knowledge of another language should be celebrated. We should incorporate their native language into the classroom whenever possible. Finally, respect looks very different in each part of the world. As educators, we shouldn't make assumptions about ELL students without seeking out some information about the messages their behavior may be sending.
According to Dr. Deborah Short, there are some tactics that we can use as educators that help middle school and high school students alike. The first strategy mentioned was using diagnostic assessments upon entering the school setting. Classroom teachers can create assessments to test literacy and content knowledge that indicate where the students are at prior to instruction taking place. ELL students in a mathematics setting, for example, can be tested on their knowledge of content in their native language to see where they are at in the curriculum. Next, Dr. Short explains that some of the most important steps for our middle and high school students are to have academic vocabulary infused into the instruction. As educators, there is a tendency to use academic slang. This constricts the vocabulary development of the ELL students. We must also be sure to clarify that words in English have multiple meanings, like the examples listed on the screen.
Understanding cultural differences is valuable for educators. Often these differences are mistaken for misbehavior. Some common behaviors often misconstrued are students avoiding contact, a student who shrinks away when there is close proximity, a student who wants to eat alone, and students not participating in group work on collaborative assignments. These are just a few behaviors that many educators confuse with disrespect. Understanding the student's culture will avoid confusion. Thank you for listening to our podcast. On this page, you will find a list of resources that go along and support cultural responsive strategies.